Clive and Clive's Art, and we're on the Mountains and Rocks series. Okay, so in the last episode I showed you how to use a credit card and how to put some colour in the rocks and a bit of texture, etc, etc. And if you haven't seen it, please go back to 1 and 2, because this is number 3. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to be using some medium mix. Now this should already be up on YouTube. There are 2 of them out there, the old formula and the new formula. Now I need to give this a really good shake because it does tend to settle in the bottom. A bit like gesso really, yeah, isn't it a tip for you? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a bit of this. Now if you haven't got this, or you don't know how to make it, or you can't be bothered to make it, that's not a problem. You can go and buy yourself some matte medium. Now this is made by Galleria. There's other manufacturers out there that make the medium mix, or the matte medium I should say, so you can use their product if you want to, but I'll use this one, which is what you would normally purchase, I believe. If you can't, you know, work out how to do this, or you just don't want to, then I think it's best if I use this particular one. So I'm gonna get to the palette and I'll show you what I need to do, because we want to put a wash over the rock face and the sky. Now you've seen me do this before, but I would need to show you once more because it's a certain effect that I want to get. So let's have a look. So what you can see is I just managed to have, I got a little bit of titanium white. It's got a little bit runny, but it doesn't matter, on my palette, and I put some of the matte medium in one of these little wax pots, and I'm going to add some of that now to the, let's just pour a little bit on, because there you go. I know I need it really thin. There you go. And I need a touch of water to that now and get that quite thin. And what I normally do then is I test it on my board to see how opaque it is. And I just need to thin that down a little bit more. And all matte medium is, as you heard me tell you before, it's actually just the acrylic polymer base without any pigment in it, in this case white. We get that to the consistency we want and just keep adding medium mix or matte medium or water, entirely up to you, whichever. And I'm going to get a little bit of processed blue, and I do mean a bit. I'm just going to put a very, very small amount onto my palette, and I'm going to get the edge of my brush and I pick up the pick up the smallest amount, and I'm just going to mix that in to the white, just to give it that tint, just to take the whiteness away then really. I'm just check that once more. I'm going to check that on there. And it doesn't hurt to test this on a section of the painting that you're going to paint over. I think that should be okay. There we are. And you need to apply this now. Apply this now to the painting. You need to be a bit bold when you do this, because if you've got it a little bit too thick, then you need to stop and start again. So I'm quite happy and confident enough anyway to do this. I'm going to wash that all over the sky. And over that rock face. Very, very thinly. And the reason is I want that sky to get knocked back as well, but I need that misty look to this mountain. It could be the misty mountain. Just picking up a touch more water on my brush. So all we want is a couple of hobbits walking up here now. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? We could do that, I suppose. The old Smog, whatever his name was, flying in the background there. What I'm going to do now, put my brush down, I'm going to pick up a blending brush. You heard me mention the blending brush before. It's just like a makeup brush, and I'm just going to go over that very, very lightly. A bit more white by there. There you go, and we need to let that dry now, or use a hairdryer on it. And in this case I will just do that. So I've got one in hand. I will just dry this now. Let it cool a little bit, don't go painting directly onto that, because the first things the acrylic paint is going to do when it goes onto a warm surface is go and dry quicker. You don't want that, so let it cool off. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that as it is now at the moment. There's not a lot of detail in there. You've seen what I've done to get it to that stage. Don't worry about all these rough edges, we'll sort them out later on. I want to start to build up the middle part of this particular painting now, and what I'm going to do there is use a palette knife. Wow, yes, it's another technique. So we've used the brush technique. You've seen how I've done that, and that's quite easily to do. You can do that with rocks and things like that in the distance, and even mountains in the distance, if you don't want to use the palette knife. Now I like using a palette knife because I like to see a bit of texture on my mountains and things. But yeah, so what I'm going to do with the middle ground now is I'm going to use a palette knife. So I'm going to use a board. Now the reason I want to use a palette that I can hold in my hand, there's two reasons for that. One, it's easier to take the paint off with a palette knife and put it onto the painting surface. The other thing is, in this occasion, I do want it to dry and I do want it to get tacky, because there's a reason for that. The other thing I'm going to be using is I'm going to be mixing some heavy structure gel with my paint, because I want to thicken the paint up. And that's another important thing. We need to thicken the paint now in order for it to act like very similar to an oil paint. I made a reference earlier on about Bob Ross, and his oil paints were very, very thick. In fact, he said the best oil paints that you can use for his technique are the ones when you squeeze a tube, they'll stand up for 3 inches before toppling over. That's how thick the paint is. And so we need to get the paint not as thick as that, but we need to get the acrylic paint now thicker than what it is, in order for us to manipulate the paint to do the technique that I'm looking to do. So I'm going to mix this up, and then we'll get back to the canvas. Now there's no right way or wrong way really to use this in the nature I'm going to use it. We need to get enough paint out, enough structure gel out to do the area we want. And as I've said in the past, you're better off using less than you need, and then mix in as much as you want to finish it afterwards. So just wipe that off, and this is basically the same as that we used earlier. It's just a thicker version, and it's a pigmentless version of the paint. That's all it is. Okay, a bit of Van Dyke brown into that now. I'm going to go about that much. And also to that I'm going to add a little bit of our diazen purple. Very strong pigment this one is anyway, because it's artist acrylic one, because I need to make that a little bit darker than what I previously put on, which is drying quite nice actually. And I mix that all together on the palette. you want to get a little bit darker, then what you can do, you can add a little bit of Mars black or a little bit of Payne's grey. I particularly want this to get a bit darker, and so I'm just going to put a touch of black into that, just to give it another dimension or shade, because I want quite a dark colour for the background, and that's all this is going to be, is the underpainting part. There we go. And I'm then going to transfer this from the palette up onto my board like that, using the edge if you want to pick up a bit. Try not to waste any if you can help it. This is quite a nice dark colour now, which is what I wanted. And dip your palette knife in the water and just, you know, it's always good to have a good selection of palette knives if you intend obviously doing palette knife work, but if you don't, have a couple anyway. And I tend to suggest one of these, which is again, is similar to what old Bob Ross used to use, and I am using his name in this particular lesson a lot, because I have learned a lot from him, and I love his work, actually, I do. But there's a selection of different palette knives in here, so I suggest you get one of those and possibly a couple like that. I don't know. Well, you'll find which ones which will suit you best. I'm going to use this one, I think, on this particular lesson. So I'm going to build this up now, like we did previously with a paintbrush. This is just doing this with a palette knife. It's as easy as that. Yes. You can hold this in your hand whichever way you want to, and all you're going to do is just take it off the palette like that, and just get that bit of a bridge of paint there. You can do it either way. You can take it that way or you can take it that way, depending which way you want to work. In this particular case, I'm taking it off the palette that way. All you want to do is a nice gentle pressure. You don't want to put it on too thick unless you want that effect, and then just lay that down and paint with a palette knife now. What you can do with this, you can incorporate a couple of edges and features then, like I said, without crops and one thing or another. You can get that paint to look a little bit thicker, and it really does look as if it's going to come out then, and we may be able to put a little outcrop there, something like that. Take that up, use the palette knife in a different way. And just let the palette knife just work for you. Don't overwork the palette knife. The palette knife is there, and you can get more of an effect if you just let it glide and do what you want it to do, and you can pick up those little divots and stuff. And what we're going to be going over this later on. Yes, we're going to go over this later on, so don't worry too much. If you go over something like that, then don't worry, you just scrape it off. Don't push too hard. You can just scrape that off, and then just basically build your rock face down the canvas. What you can do, if you wanted to, you can just bring a little touch of white into that mix now, just to change the value. Okay, if you want a bit more white, just bring a little bit of white in, and it's going to go like a purple grey colour. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I want to put another layer in place, but I want it to be a slightly different colour to the one I've already put in, so I can see the difference. Like that. So we said we were going to put a waterfall or something in here, so we want some sort of a ridge there. There's going to be another rock system coming out here, so we need to just bring that in there. I'm just going to come down, and I'm just going to let that hit there, because that's going to be water down there. And he says he's running out of paint now, so I'm just going to scrape through what I've got. So this is going to be, the water's going to be coming around off here, jumping, splashing, and then it's going to hit there, and it's just going to completely drop, I think. So we need to get that all nice and tacky like that. You give that 10 minutes, let it get tacky. Yes. Because hopefully now, if I'm going to mix another colour, which is using the same type of colours. I'll most probably use a burnt umber or something like that, and I'm going to mix that now with the heavy structure gel that we use, and I'm going to go over that, but I need this to get tacky. So yeah, when I come back I'll have it already mixed, and it's going to be mixed exactly the same way, so there's no point in me wasting video time for you. So I'm going to mix it in exactly the same way as I mixed the last one. So there we go. Just going to be burnt umber. If I decide to change the mix, then I will let you know when I come back. So move along. There we are. So I mixed 3 colours. I don't know if you can see. That's burnt umber with a touch of black in it. Okay, so I've just changed it. I made it into a shade then. That's yellow ochre, just the heavy structure gel, and again that's yellow ochre with the heavy structure gel, which I separated into 2 piles, and I put some black into that to make a shade, and I wanted to make that dirty rock colour. And I'm going to use these 3 mixes now on this painting. Now I'm going to be using these colours now in exactly the same way as we put the dark colour on, and I'm going to be jumping from one colour to the next colour. All I'll do is wipe off my palette knife onto my kitchen roll in between colour changes, and that's as simple as that. So this is a little bit, it's getting tacky now, and the reason I want it tacky is because let's pick this particular mix here. I'm going to get small amounts on my palette knife, and I'm not going to touch the painting with my palette knife. I'm just going to let the paint pull off the palette knife. It's actually going to pull off, because that paint is drier than the paint I'm going to be using. I don't need to push this hard into the canvas. I just need to let it rest over, and it'll just pull off. It'll just pull off, and it'll look like all rock patterns and things like that. So this is a skill that you've got to learn, and you've got to practice. So let's get to the canvas. Now I'm not going to pretend that this is easy, because it's not. You just need little bits of paint at a time, and then you just need to decide where you're going to put these, and then you just let the paint pull off the palette knife. As I said, it's not easy, but what is easy in art, it is easy when you know what you're doing. But you don't want to kill all that dark off, don't get me wrong. Now, you don't want to obliterate all that dark. What you're looking for is to get that pattern of rock. So you need to give this a little bit of thought. Again, with everything, you don't go too heavy handed with it. And you just carry on, just let that paint pull away off the knife. Don't kill all that dark. There you go. And you will get that pattern if you practice. But the key to this particular technique is to allow that paint to get tacky. If it's not tacky enough, it's not going to pull off the palette knife. Now, going back again to Mr. Bob Ross, when he used to do this with the oil paints, he used to use his palette knife in exactly the same way, but oils tend to stick a little bit better than acrylics. You don't want it to wash itself out, really speaking. As you can see, it's just pulling away off the brush, off the palette knife, sorry. So that's what's going to happen if you push too hard. Look, see how it all goes smudgy, but that's not what you want. You want this to just leave little patterns on your canvas. Now when you're painting with a palette knife, this is the most important trick. And don't go wasting your paint, you know. If you want to put your paint on, if you want to, you can just spread that on the canvas. It's not going to waste, because we can build another layer on top of that afterwards. Okay, so I'm going in with a slightly darker mix now. And I'm not going to put this all over, just here and there. It looks a little bit green for the simple reason it is mixing black with the yellow base is going to give you some sort of a green, because there's blue in Mars Black, which I use on this particular painting, particular mix. And this actually got blue in it. So I mix that with a yellow ochre, which is, there's a lot of yellow in yellow ochre, obviously. Then it is going to look a little bit green. So you need to be mindful on things like that. Okay, so we're going to go back into yellow ochre now. And then we're just going to pick up a couple of little highlights here and there. That's where the sun is catching the rock face. I'm not putting any pressure on this knife at all. It's just what's pulling off. And here's another way we can tidy this up later. And what we need to do now is let this really dry, and I mean I need to give it 24 hours. What I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to continue with this area. I'm going to leave the outcrop there, but I'm going to continue with this area in exactly the same way, because what I need to do then is show you the other part of that process, which is to put the shadows and stuff in and just, you know, darken it off a bit. But you can see already we've got that mountain to look like it's in front of that one, and yes, it's starting to come on really well. So I'm going to continue with this section here now. I'm going to leave the outcrop, and then I'll get back to you. So I'm going to give it 24 hours, and so I'm going to end this particular lesson, and when I come back on lesson 4, then you'll see it all done without that outcrop, and then we can move on to the next stage. So I'm Clive from Clive's Art. Thank you very much for watching and joining me in the studio today. May your God go with you. And thank you very much for subscribing if you've already subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed, then please press the subscribe button. Join me on Facebook and Twitter, and I will see you on the next episode. Don't forget to give me that thumbs up, and I'll see you then. Bye bye. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Keep an eye out for my weekly updates. Join me on Facebook. They're always there, and they'll let you know what's coming up in that particular week. So may God go with you. I'm Clive from Clive's Art. Take care. Thank you very much. And don't forget to give me that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Bye bye.